Where are you guys watching from? France. David, I've seen you. Machakos, Winnie. Machakos, Winnie, you came from Mombasa, now you're in Machakos. DSR Manav in India. All right. Dubai. Brenda from Mombasa. Bungoma. Mauritius. Oh, wow. Jogorod Botella. Yes. Embakasi represented. Winnie will be back to Mombasa tomorrow. Winnie is having the life. Can you imagine? She's just moving around. Local tourist. Melbourne, Australia. Yes, Reese from Ghana. Imara Daima. This is Dennis. Jerry, which flag is this? Can you stop tormenting us? Canada. Canada is here. Estime. Can see you. Kirinyaga, Kenya. That's Phoebe. Guangzhou, China. Ruth Mutinda, how is Guangzhou? Please teach us how to. Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan, yes. This is Jerry. Oh, that was the flag. Well, Jerry, stop. You expected us to guess that. No, some of us did not do GHC. From Thailand. Guys, I've received several concerns this morning. It's an issue I thought we had mentioned, but it's important we put it in clear and white and we explain. A guy tells me he has been in this dysfunctional marriage for over 10 years. They broke apart. Emotionally, they went apart. They just remained physically in the same house, but they are not together. Nothing goes on. Strife, conflict, fight with the wife. He says something happened early in their marriage and they essentially drifted apart. They essentially broke apart. They just remained there for their 2 children. Apparently. And they have quarreling, fighting. It's not working. But he fears that if they break up, the children will be affected. I don't know. Be affected. What is happening currently to the children? What is happening? Another woman tells me she has been in this marriage for 17 years. And they are broken up and come back together over 10 times. She keeps coming back because of the son. Because of the child. That's what he says. I wanted to ask this common sense thing. Is it rocket science to know that keeping children in a loveless, dysfunctional marriage is the worst form of cruelty to them? Does it take rocket science? Does it take rocket science? Don't you just look around and see how many people have been scarred, traumatized, confused by being brought up under loveless, dysfunctional marriages? Must we wait for disaster? Must we damage our children? You keep your children in a place where there is strife, fight, conflict. And you keep saying you're staying for them. I told that guy, okay, congratulations. You're staying for the sake of your children so that you can traumatize them. You're keeping them in a marriage that is not functioning, in a place where you are, fighting constantly and confusing them about marriage until they either hate the marriage for good, or either they will end up in dysfunctional marriage like your own, or they'll be confused about how the world operates. Their self-esteem will be damaged. They were never loved. They had to try and reconcile. They blame themselves. So you have kept your children here until you sucked them into confusion and mayhem and chaos until they are totally disoriented about life and confused. Congratulations for loving your children like that. Staying for the sake of the children. Those who came from single parents have these other fellas you say, I grew up in a thing without my dad, and I would not like my children to grow without their father. That's it. It's okay. Growing with one parent is not the best. But it's better to grow with one parent with peace than to grow with both parents when there is strife, fight, conflict. That is in itself damaging, strongly damaging, badly damaging in its own way. It's better to have, the best is to have both parents with peace. But if you cannot have peace, have one parent with peace. Children would rather sleep on the floor. Children would rather, have one parent. Children would rather not have those luxuries. Children would rather not have anything that is extra, but a roof to sleep on, food with peace of mind. How many of us did our homeworks on the floor? On the floor, homework. We struggled with whatever we had to do, but if you can sleep without hearing shouts, insults, breaking of glass, conflict, strife, without having the tension, without having the confusion of fearing for the worst, for the life of our parent, for seeing them exchange blows, exchange words, go up, flare up in fits of rage. Do you know how badly damaging that is to a child? If you're saying you're staying for the child, you're preparing them for a marriage like the one you're keeping them in. Remember that. Either you're keeping them for a marriage like the one you're keeping them in, or you're preparing them to hate marriage altogether. Altogether. It is you to choose. There is no kindness, there's no mercy, there's no compassion in saying you're keeping children where they're not benefiting. Better to bring them up alone. And as I told you, most people only use this as an excuse. It's the fear of starting afresh. It's the fear of being judged by society. It's the fear of being called names. It's the fear that they may not make it alone. They use children as an excuse. Overcome the fear and give children what they need. What do they need? Peace. What do they need? Care. You better care for them, you alone, and they visit with the other parent or whatever the situation. But you must be the one to take charge and remove the conflict and the strife. That strife is more traumatizing. That conflict they witness, those breaking of glass or shouts of anger or problems of, they ask this, go ask the other. You come tell them what is happening between you and their father, or between you and their mother. Even if you don't tell them, they can see you're not friends. They can see other people having parents who are friends. And they have, sometimes children interpret to mean that they are the ones to blame. Children have an egocentric, or the world revolves around them because of, they're not fully aware really. So they think, if my mother and my father are not friends, I must be to blame. If I can be a good child enough, they can start having, friends. If I can be a good child, what am I doing? What can I do? Children pray, God help my father and my mother to be friends. You see children, it's very confusing when the parents are not getting along. If you realize the marriage is irretrievably broken, do the most merciful thing and shelter your children from that chaos. Shelter your children from that chaos. Shelter them. Somebody saying here, I went through that. I cannot let it happen. All right? Those of us who have experienced, let me continue being single than stay in an unhappy place. That's true. Those of us who went through the pain of loveless parental marriage, of conflict, of strife, we know it was not better than anything to have better with one parent. The children sometimes themselves are beseeching you to leave. The children are begging you to leave, begging you to save them from the strife, begging you. They would rather be alone and look for the other parent later than to stay where there is conflict. They will never imagine a happy marriage. They never imagine getting married. They fear men. They fear women. I know many people today who fear to trust. They have difficulty trusting because of what they went through. Don't put your children through this kind of trauma thinking you are helping them. And it's the image in society that you're fearing. It will not mean anything years later. It will not mean when you see your children suffering, when you see your children disoriented, when you see your children confused and wondering what they did wrong. Will it help you anything? To see that you contributed, you delayed, you procrastinated on the right decision. Instead, prepare now and save them from the strife. Even if you don't carry them, remove yourself. Maybe they can be more peaceful with the other parent. All right? Thank you, guys.